thank you for joining us. I would like to tell you a bit more about the genesis of this talk. I know Mafalda for a couple of years. Originally, I think she was just coming over from Portugal when we first met in an event, in a brunch. And that is a couple of years ago. And 2023, she said. And then we were in loose contact, but not very regularly. And we had the situation that last year, the day of the Deutsche Computerspielpreis award ceremony, we were in a panel on mentoring in a company here, in Nitrado company here in Berlin. And the panel discussion, or the discussion in the company was over, and we had to run to get in time to the award ceremony. That gave us the occasion, we took the wrong S-Bahn station to get out of the S-Bahn, and we had to do a walk with our nice little dresses, long dresses and perms. We were running high heels. We were running around the spot where the award ceremony was taking place. And Mafalda was talking to me about her job and as a studio manager with Telescope, and that was a very interesting and vivid conversation. And a week later, I saw in LinkedIn a post that Mafalda was laid off in the company. And I was really surprised because she was talking so furious about that when we met the week before. And then we jumped to Berlinale, where we met after a panel, and we had this discussion on. I asked her how you're doing, what is the situation like, and she said. We engaged in a discussion, and then we said, okay, this is something that maybe that could be talked about by Womenize, because this is actually a situation a lot of people are finding themselves in. And so the perspective is to have a look from different angles on a topic that is difficult and on a topic where we have generative different perspectives on, because I'm much older than, you can tell, than Mafalda. And Mafalda being from Portugal, I'm German, and we try to find out similarities and to see also what helped. And so, Mafalda, the first time you were laid off, was this the first time when you were leaving a Telescope, or?
This is a very good. Okay. Sorry. I'm losing my voice, so support me. So it was the first time that I lost a job with a permanent contract. So I would say yes. But when we were discussing that situation, one of the first things that come up was, I was so surprised by how impactful you felt about the situation. And for me, it was just so normal. And I now understand more of what it means, but I come from, because of my age, my country, my background, I studied fine arts and art multimedia. I never had a sense of what job security meant. Everyone always told me, you will one day just live under a bridge, being an artist. You'll never have a stable job. There's this thing in Portugal called falsos recibos verdes, which is when you're fake freelancing for a company, which means that you're unpaid and you don't have a contract. Everything is kind of this under the table situation. It is so common, like, I don't know, everyone does it. It is just, especially in artistic fields and creative fields, even all the actors that you see on TV, everyone that you see, that's how they work. They don't have most of them wouldn't have a contract unless they're household names. Everyone that's starting their field. So that was one of the big things that I think in the beginning I didn't quite understood even the impact of what that meant for others. And because I was already coming from a mindset that was always normal, like no, I don't deserve to have a job security even. That's not even in in my brain. So I think that's how this even started, right, in that beginning.
My career path is very bumpy. I did a lot of things twice. Experienced them twice. I was twice laid off from a permanent contract. I did two different studies, and I have 2 degrees, one French, one German. I was laid off twice. I was getting, and this is something that we are grateful for, we are getting unemployment pay here in Germany. Twice in my life, I experienced that the companies that I was working for were going bankrupt, and they were owing me still money. What else? I went twice abroad to study, once to Paris and once to Mexico City. So my career was completely, you would say, taking a look at it, a mess. I experienced, and this is the contrary maybe to Mafalda, because she is describing that in her situation, her environment, it was quite usual to have jobs and being laid off and starting something new and so on. In my situation, the first layoff I had was in 1999, and it was from my first job after studying. And it was a very difficult situation in the market. It was difficult to find jobs. And at the time, I was really happy to have. I was working in Babelsberg at the film studio side in a post-production company, and I really was very happy to have this job. And the company, the shareholders left the company. The company was going bankrupt, and I was laid off. And when I remember vividly when I told this to my family, everybody was like, "Okay, how can that happen?" Because at the time, everybody was used. Once you have a job, you are staying there until the end of your life or the end of your career. And I was lucky. I had a permanent job, but this is not that was not helpful, because nevertheless I was laid off. So this was very, very different situation, and I think that was giving me trouble on top, that all my environment was expecting to have a job forever.
Yeah, and then I just want to add to that I don't think one is better or worse than the other, because it's also not like in my environment people were expecting you to not have a job, right? You will have to, even through this difficulty of starting and keeping one, to be able to find one. And in 2013, when I finished college, I remember my first jobs. I had one of the things is I did normal public college, which means we didn't have, at least in fine arts, there's no obligation to have an internship there's no time in that, either in high school or in college, that there's like a mandatory or a supportive or an internship through university. And a lot of that only happen if you are rich enough to go to private universities. Private universities are the only ones that offer those types of, at least before, that offer those types of opportunities. So that's also something that we struggle with, that there is no way in. There's no way a company won't give you an internship because they don't have a relationship with your university. And then so what happened was the state did this program in which they would pay, it's called an internship, but everyone use it as free junior labor, where companies would hire a person that was out of college for a year through that program. And so that was my first official job after school, and it was a contract. It was temporary, but always that temporary that supposedly the state should protect you, that they would only approve companies that had an opportunity to keep you later. So that would be just like an insertion, is that a word, type of program. Mm-hmm. And for example, in my case, that company, it was a solopreneur type situation, where it was a very difficult thing to navigate for me, like of even learning how to separate work from personal life, because even the office itself was inside the person's house. that person was pregnant, I had a baby, sometimes I had to babysit and make a game, like, it was a whole thing. I can tell you so many stories. And then at some point, you know, and I worked for free in the beginning, because again, that's another thing that those companies did. They would promise you that they need you, they will start the process with the government, and now you're locked kind of in that process, but they're like, but I need you now, and the process takes a couple of months. And so, for example, again, in my contract says that I work a year and a half with them. One of the things that I got was to be able to negotiate later on that, at least in my letter of recommendation, that I had a title of, like, I wasn't an intern, I was the only person doing that job. But I wanted to share that because I think that connects to what you're saying about those early opportunities. I think sometimes we forget and how those early opportunities are so messy. And I think that's part of a lot of people's paths. Sometimes it's like, oh, is the time that I started my own game studio with my colleagues from school counts as work or not? Is work defined by the contract that I have? Is only that piece of paper the only true definition of my worth as an employer? And and this is kind of the whole full circle for our conversation with when we were at Berlinale, because we're talking about how our identity is or isn't defined by a role, or is it by our skills?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
want to add to that?
Kelly was mentioning that also in the morning. So I think this is when I'm looking back to the periods in my life where I was unemployed. And you are in this insecure situation that you are not knowing what is going to happen next or what is coming next, what am I doing next, that I felt, and that my professional environment, what my parents and my family said, I told you earlier, but my professional environment was also like, somehow I felt that they are expecting me to join some kind of company or institute to give them the security. Now Ruth is working there, and I have her in my door for this company or this institute. That they, also my professional environment, were feeling like a little bit, we don't know what she's doing and what is coming up next, and that for them that was also like not having any clue where to help me, where to put me, and I was feeling this quite heavily. And then the second time I was laid off, also the first time I was in quite prominent companies or institutes, and with that you are being invited, you are being on a panel, but this is something that all of the sudden is completely going away. Your whole professional network is going elsewhere, and that is something that I think. How is that for you, Mafalda? You are now. It's 1 year ago, no? That you.
Yeah. And I just wanted to acknowledge the privileges of my situation, but I guess also because of that backstory of that insecurity from role to role that I did previously, I had encountered, even when I switched from Nerd Monkeys to Telescope, it was like, oh, all my logins to Meet to Match are attached to my company email. And I lost a lot of people when they would invite me to speak or to do any other other opportunities, even to go to schools or other freelance jobs. They would go through that email, and I'm like, okay, I cannot lose this, especially in the transition. And I've seen other people in the industry doing this similar thing, so I had examples and role models. And that's when I made my own personal brand. So that was like first step, and that's the first thing that I tried to develop, is like, okay, thank God MafaldaDuarte.com still exists and it belongs to me. Fun fact, there's a Mafalda Duarte, she's so much more powerful than me, and she also has curly hair, and she's like a Portuguese, like 10 most powerful women. I think she runs this $1 billion like fund and people sometimes add me and like they think it's her. but it's me. And anyway, not that the network works, because I don't know. If anyone is working in ecological things and you need me to introduce you to that Mafalda, maybe we can figure that out. Anyway, so yeah, that was a first step, to have a way that people could connect with me directly, and I could give a card, or I could give an introduction. It's like, hey, just this is for me and this is for my studio. So first trying to separate those two identities. And the second thing is that we're discussing, I think there's a lot of personal turmoil and fighting against. One of the things that throughout, maybe I was accepting of some identities, but not accepting of others. In the beginning was accepting, okay, I'm not an artist, or I'm not working as an artist, but now I'm working as a producer. And then later on, it was so hard to accept being a studio director, because isn't that just a title, or is that a skill, or is that can I be a studio director if I'm not directing a studio? And I think we talked about that. And in terms of what are tools and things that helped, definitely speaking with peers and going and find counsel in people that have been here longer than you. And another element is that would Leonie and Cassie, and I forgot everyone's name now. I'm so sorry.
Isabella.
Isa. Sorry, Isa. And Isa, they were like super good at showing tools, being one of them therapy. And it's like, just go talk to people through the lack of connection with your own value, so that we are able to speak it up. And that was a big part of that. And that was something that you recognize right away, of like, maybe you wouldn't have this time to connect with those own values and your own self if the layoff hadn't happened, for example. And those are like ways to turn those negatives into positives, at least for me in my life. Yeah. How about you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that very much. I think with this shift of identity, all of a sudden you are not the person that is working for the association any longer, and everybody is knowing you. You are in a difficult situation, and you are wherever you are going, and you meet people that know you from the past. They are asking, "What are you doing now?" And this is stressful sometimes, because you yourself, you are not knowing, what am I doing here? What am I doing here in this situation? And what do I want to do? Because this is also a process. And in the first, I remember that. I was saying earlier, I had a lot of experiences twice, and I can assure you, the second time it's getting easier, because you experienced it once, and you know that you learned that you can cope, and that you can get out of this, or you can make the most out of it, if you want to frame it positively. So I think it's getting easier from experience to experience, but in the first time, I was really like, in the first months, it's like a shock. You were like, what is happening? What am I doing? What are the next steps? And I think that we are in a privileged situation that we have in Germany this unemployment pay that can, if you paid into the system for a certain time frame, you're touching this, and this helps you to overcome those first months. And then I think, but this takes time, and you really have to embrace this process of loss.
Yeah.
Because it's like you are losing your identity a little bit, because everybody is bringing you in touch with your former employer. And then I think it's also taking time that you start thinking about what others. Kelly was talking about that. What other skills do I have? What skills do I have? And I would recommend to find somebody you can talk to about that, so that you can carve out your transferable skills and think about where can they be needed in other industries, in other job positions. But this you need now, in the looking backwards, it's easy to say so, but if you are in this situation, it's really difficult. And I remember that vividly. It was a very difficult time.
I was going to add to that difficulty that the difficulty is not even just the overcoming the process, but understanding where you are in the process. Because I remember, so first of all, just like a key difference from the first time that happened to me to now. Yeah, the first time I didn't know that was the intention. I was literally active publishing the games. At this time, I was the studio head, so I knew since January, and my team knew. Like, I let them know enough. We knew where we were in. We were small enough that we could have that open communication. So it was always supported, and it wasn't as much as like a shock. But maybe sometimes even because of that, it was so hard to be in the sadness or to be in the grieving process that you're mentioning. I'm like, oh no, I just need like some summer vacation, then I'll be right back into the game. And then I'll just get worse and worse and not understanding. And specifically because I built that studio from the ground up, even though it's not mine, there was this disconnect between people thought, first of all, people in the industry a lot of times think, oh, but don't you own Telescope? And I'm like, no, like I'm hired to build the studio, but it's not mine. And there's like this disconnect between like, but it feels like mine, right? But I did all of these things, and I love all the people there, and I feel responsible for their livelihoods and mine. And how do you even deconstruct and disconnect those elements? And at the same time, I wish all the best for my founders and for the other project that keeps going. We still launch things, like our studio that doesn't, it's frozen, but like it just launched something in February this year, right? We're not there, but there's like this mix between celebrating what keeps on going and kind of mourning what's not there anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I so much feel you there, because if you're in the process, in my youth there were those tape recorders, and you could push fast forward, and then they were going to the next song or to the very end of the, and then it all restarted. So if you are in the process, you really want to accelerate it as much. You want to get out of this. And this is something that is completely understandable on the one hand, but I think taking a look at it from my perspective now, I would say each and every single day of this process was very important, and I had to really experience it myself and go through it myself. And it would have been different if you had accelerated to the next point, because when taking a look, if I take a look at these moments of unemployment now, or these phases of unemployment in my life, they were all difficult, but at the end of the day, they gave me moments of self-reflection also. How is it with you?
Yeah, I think you're so right. Like for me, for example, one of the things that I got to do this time was ground myself in the advocacy work that I do. Like I always did that in my free time, right? I've been working with Women in Games for the past 4 years and a half now, for IGDAs also for 2 years, maybe more, and building communities back home when I was with Game Dev Lisbon, and suddenly it's like, oh, I can use that time instead of they just getting the scraps of my efforts and attention. I've been doing this thing as long as I've been also making games. Do I like that more? Do I like that less? Is this something that I want to pursue as maybe my main job in the future? And even grasping with the type of expertise that I want to have and be recognition for in the future, because that's something that I really, really struggle with. This sense of value in work and in skills, especially coming from a background if money equals value and you never had a contract until you came to Germany, basically, do you have value? And you know, like these questions that you ask yourself. Yeah. And now I feel I do, because I specifically, because I did those decisions, yes, maybe I didn't apply as much in the beginning, or I wasn't focused on finding the next job, but that allowed me to, for example, this year, I've been, I think, both for Berlinale, Womenize, at the Munich Film Festival, Art House meets, like all of these spaces invite me to come, and I didn't have to apply, and so they're still seeing value and worth in my expertise, even if I'm not attached to a company. And so that is the type, and some of them find me online, I don't know how. It wasn't even recommended. And that is the part that are like, okay, so I'm doing something right, that expertise can live outside of myself. And we talked about that idea of like building career stability versus job security, or career security versus job security, which is that idea that you feel secure in your career and your skills and your communication of those versus the belief that an employer will hold you and they will keep that end of like being taking care of you forever. So yeah, that was my learning.
Yeah, very interesting. Something that I was struggling with, I remember vividly, was the being rejected all the time. I think to get over the feeling of rejecting, and nowadays it's even worse. People are being ghosted all the time. And this is due to the actual situation in the job market. This is happening due to the platform application that are more and more used. But how can you cope with that? What helps you to overcome this?
I just cry every time I had a rejection first, and then after an hour, everything feels good. No, but what I mean is going through process and feeling your feelings when it happens, and you really wanted it, but also, again, not have all your eggs in the basket. That again, it's very hard to be in that feeling and awareness of rejection if you are busy with other stuff. So, I always have the next, now it's the Stammtisch meetups that I have to plan, or coming here, or I have something else next week that I have to care about, and also in my personal life. You can all know that I'm engaged. And so I've been planning. So, I have a wedding to plan. And that helped. Like, as soon as I had a wedding to plan, like, a lot of those rejections felt less. I was like, oh, great. So now I don't have to ask vacations for this time of the year because, I was like, how can I go to the wedding in Portugal? So, I think things like that definitely help, finding value. Again, going back to that idea of value. What is value? And contesting what it is and what people tell you that it is, and finding people that help you do that. And all my friends and my peers in the industry have been so invaluable for that path. I have amazing people that I can go and ask and have conversations. And a lot of them here, like Madeleine, Jenny, like so many to count, like it's really, which is a very, very blessed position to be in, that I got to, and you, of course, as you know, that we got to create together, that we get to share together, that you get to tell me, oh, this is very normal, Mafalda. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Because I can relate to that. I experienced this as well. Now, from my perspective, I have a closer look on the job market, and I'm doing a lot of job coaching. So, if you are taking this feeling of rejection. And sometimes I think for me it was like I had the same feeling. I was crying, or I was really disappointed, and then I think a healthy step would be to try to analyze closer why am I getting this rejection, or why am I'm not accepted here. And if you then take a look at the job market and the actual situation the job market is in, you come easily to the conclusion it's not your fault, because there are so many people looking for jobs. It's not you. And instead of, I think it's good to grieve and to go through this process, and then took it a step further and say, let's take a distance a little bit and let's check what happened here. And in the actual situation, I can assure you, I meet so many people that are telling me, I have written 200 applications, I had 3 interviews, I was not accepted, the other companies were not reacting at all. So this is ghosting what's happening here, but this is normal also in this situation. I hate it, but it's not your fault. That's what I'm saying. And
sorry, because I just want to really help for in terms of well, okay, but what can I do practically? I think you just mentioned the idea of like, okay, I've been rejected 200 times. When you think about reflecting on that, just ask yourself, but is it 200 times the exact same CV? Did I change the words? Did I adjust this? I think there's the element of what we can do and the element of what we cannot change, right? We cannot change the state of the industry, but we can change, am I applying to something outside of it? Am I trying, am I adapting my skills correctly? That's something that we've been discussing, right? Like, what does it mean to use the correct language for another industry, maybe? Or, again, like not just brute forcing it in, but trying to have that time to iterate.
Yeah. I think this is all important. So if you want to turn it again to a more positive aspect of it, so those moments of self-reflection I mentioned already that were very helpful for me to find out what are the skills I have. You can ask your environment. What do you think? What are my skills? What is something that you are appreciating a lot about me? You can ask former colleagues to do so. You can reach out to your network. That is something that you are extremely good in, and you have a huge community that you were mentioning earlier. I think this is something that is very positive also. Is there something that you would say on the process, or can you already say that on the process that you encountered that you think that was really eye-opening, or something that I'm really grateful within all this heavy process that I experienced it?
Ooh, for myself, okay. I would say two things. So one thing that I feel it is important that I felt for me and for the way that I give advice to others is that you have permission. If you are in survival mode, you're not in career building mode. What I mean that is, if you need a job tomorrow to pay for rent, I hate when people, and we talked about that, I'm a very big disagreeing that again, your job role defines your standing in the industry or your standing of who you are, what your skills are. So, you're not outside of the game industry if you have to go tomorrow work at Edeka, I don't know, or somewhere, or like a store. If I did that, I work at a clothing store. While I was working at the clothing store, I was organizing game jams, organizing events. I was doing my master's. There's like different times in different people's lives, and that things matter more than others. I see Emma here. She changed outside of the games to come. Welcome. Hopefully it's not scary. And it's another person that really inspires me about the finding those opportunities and giving permission that doesn't mean a failure of the previous path. That was the big thing for me, because in the beginning I remember my first one, I was like, my parents did so much effort to help me be able to go to fine arts. Like it's such a risk right from the get-go. Like, yeah, they knew, and they made all these efforts, and now I'm not being an artist. Like, am I throwing away everything that I learned before? Am I throwing away these years of history of art and media culture and whatever that I learned? And literally, I use that every day in my job now. That helps me be a better team leader. That helps me be, and I'm great at connecting stupid things, because before I had to do a lot of work on, relate this to art forms separated by 100 years. What do they have in common? And those types of mindsets. That's the exact same thing I use to understand risk management. And so I think that time helped me now to see that those things are not lost in the path, or they're building your path.
So if you are taking a look at the process now, so you were also very active in this process. So you were doing a lot of things. You started to plan your wedding, as you said, but also you were doing other events aside. And I think this is something that's very important to be, even if you are not feeling like it, to try to not each and every event or meeting. So if you are not, don't let yourself drive by FOMO, by fear of missing out. But if you can and you have a good feeling, go to events, try to get in touch with the people, try to talk to them. I think this is very helpful. For me, I think at the time it was also the family and friends that helped a lot, and to really take some time off and try to focus on, reflect, what can I do, what did I in the past, what skills are there, and where would I like to go, and what did I want when I was a younger person.
And not feeling trapped for one choice, right? That's the thing about the path not being clear, is that you get to do something, not like it, do something else right after.
I would like to open up for questions, maybe. Kelly?
Thank you very much. The big question that I have for both of you is, how much mentorship have you accessed or given as part of your consistent renewal? Do you mentor people, and have you been mentored, and how did that change or affect you? I'm full of the good questions, Ruth.
Thank you very much. That is a good question. When I started working, not only in the games industry, even before, mentoring was something that did not exist, and not at all. I was lucky when I was working with the association that the managing director of the association was a guy. He was younger than I was at the time, but he was taking me everywhere and presenting me to everybody. At the end of the day, I would say that was a kind of mentoring, and I'm really grateful for that, because he was bringing me in touch with so many people. That was something that was really helpful. And nowadays, so I think nowadays we have mentor schemes that are existing, and we have mentor. It's much easier to really maybe reach out to the people and to ask them for help and support. Now I'm doing this a lot. Yeah.
Same. So I'm not even, because I've done so much officials ones, I'm not even mentioning the unofficial mentoring that you do get from peers and friends. But I have been a mentor, and I've been mentored through the IGDA Global Mentorship Program. I have mentored the Wings program. I have been a mentor for the Spielfabrik program. I've been a mentor here at the Games Ground, and also being mentored. And I am of a strong belief that you should do that always throughout your career. That is where we met, like when we had that conversation, was a mentor program, exactly to talk about that. I think sometimes a lot of programs are perceived as being to getting into the industry or to be a junior, but I think like every time is like when you want to, move to the side, when you want to. I remember one of the first things that I did was when I transitioned from Nuremberg's Telescope, my fear was, do I know how to be a producer officially, or do I just know how to do that in this one specific situation with this team and this project?
I think this is imposter, no?
Yeah, no, but I went and I got a mentor, and that it was a producer that was very respected in Portugal, in my area. I think he mentioned, like, I don't know, throwaway line in a Discord chat, like, I'm open to mentorship. And I'm like, oh, well, you said you'll be open, do that to me. And I remember, like, he had 3 sessions, and the third session I was like, Mafalda, I don't have anything to teach you. Every time I say something, but this is not to say I'm so cool. No, it's not that. It was just like, I was just overthinking everything about opening and starting a new studio, right? I never started a new one. I run something that already existed. And so I was like, how did you start something? And then he was like, have you thought about this? And I'm like, yes, I wrote it down. Have you thought about this? Yes, I wrote it down. I'm like, you have enough, go away. but that was, I just needed some validation. It was very structured, and it was like, okay, I'm giving you an hour these days, you come to me and whatever, because that also respects each other's time. And then I learned to mentor better because of that. And I did a great mentorship program with Women in Games where we did exactly that exercise. In the same program, we had to mentor and be the mentor of each other so that we understand how to be better mentors because we understand how to make better questions as a mentee.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very interesting. And I think what I would like to add to that, what is helping also, take a look at your colleagues. Ask them, what is your career path until here? What did you do? What helped you? And what I don't know, what situations have you ever been unemployed? Nowadays, you everywhere you are meeting people that have been unemployed for a while. This is something that is not the new normal, I would say. And try to talk more to people about that, because for me it was always also this is probably also my personality, that I was also always looking up at the people and saying they can, why can't I? And so comparing this, and this is something that is not very healthy. It's not helping. It's not bringing you further. So try to get engaged with the people. Ask them what was the difficult moment in your career. How did you cope with that? How did you overcome that? What are you doing now? What helped? Stuff like that. Is there another? Yeah, Leonie.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to add to that. It's not really a question, but because I had a similar experience getting laid off.
Yes.
And sometimes I feel like a neutral perspective can also help from somebody who doesn't know, because then you are also forced to pitch yourself to someone, and then they can make like a judgment on what might be like a possible new step. And there's a platform called Coffee Code Break, and it's full of women in tech, not only in games, but also in a lot of different disciplines. And I did a little life hack there. I found a career coach on there. It's a free platform, so you can connect with someone and you can talk to them for an hour for free, because career coaching can also be very expensive, right? And yeah, you can talk to women like from all kind of disciplines in the tech industries, but also, for example, career coaches. And I just arranged a call with one of the ladies there, and she was really cool, and I just explained to her my situation, and then she feedbacked and mirrored me what she thinks I might be good at or what I could do next. And I think talking to colleagues and people who know you from the industry is super, super valuable, because they already have an idea of you, but it can also sometimes help to do like the actual career coaching. So yeah, just as a resource for everyone listening, if you're in this situation, maybe it can be helpful, because I had a good experience there.
Thank you for...
Aside from, obviously, Ruth also coaching and Mafalda.
Thank you very much for bringing this up. I think this is... I didn't know this platform, Leonie, so I'm grateful to hear this. And I think this is a very valid point. Go to find other people that are giving you feedback, that can... they might have other ideas where your transferable skills might be valued, might be needed. And this can really be very, very helpful.
Sorry, because you just said that, and I just light bulb another thing. Do talk to people if you can, and because we're in a sort of diverse industry from other countries. I remember that my first mentor in the IGDA platform, he was from the US, and he was like, "What do you mean? Like, you did all those things?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but like, is that enough?" And because I think sometimes that there's a Portuguese mentality that, you know, you do what you have to do, and that's, say, it's very normal that we always do something outside of our scope of job, and that's the minimum that you have to do, versus, you know, you go, I don't know, working with Women in Games, and people from the UK is like, oh no, like, you're doing more, what are you doing? And I'm like, all the things needed. and it was a very cultural shock, but also to realize that maybe sometimes your skills are valued or devalued depending also to the culture that you're from and the culture that you're kind of working with. So that's like, it's just like an important thing to help you get out of your own head.
Any other questions?
Hi, thank you so much for the talk. I have a question regarding not being laid off, but still being in like an employment relationship. But you want to get out and like do something new or do something more, like do the thing that you actually maybe want to do. But you are comfortable and you feel kind of at home, like what you described, like this detachment that needs to happen from a company and the people there. Do you have a tip on like getting that push of saying, okay, like I love the company, I like working here, but it needs to end, I need to get out and like get into the world?
Wow, that is a difficult question. I would say take a look on the point of job security. What does it really mean for you? Normally, I would say, yeah, try to start to apply for other jobs, try to find other ways. But in the situation that is very difficult at the moment, I would not recommend to give it a cold start, just to say I'm leaving here now and I'm up for new adventures and now everything can start. This is difficult at the moment because there are the job market, not only in the games industry, is very difficult. So, but try to dedicate time in your full week to dedicate time to really reflect. What did I want when I was a child? What are my transferable skills? Where can those be needed? And what are my ambitions? In what direction I would like to go? And then try to start to check the job market there, and do applications. If you find the time and the energy to do so, then do that, and then you can get a feeling what is going on out there, because it's always very much on also having in view what the job market, the actual situation is like, and it's difficult at the moment, but that can also change. And maybe you can team up with other people that have the same idea. I would like to change something, but I'm not sure where this is going. Then you are meeting those people, can be online or in real life, and you are exchanging yourself on your what are you really wanting, what are your ideas, and so on. I think this helps always to find other people that are in a similar situation and to have this exchange. In the past, people were always telling you when you were starting your career, after 3 years you should go to another company in order to, or after 3 to 5 years you should go elsewhere. But this is really getting tough at the moment. How should you do this if there are no job offers available? So and everybody is on limited contracts at the moment. This is also a problem. So, but try to nevertheless focus on your career path and try to stick to those ambitions that you might have and challenge that all once in a while without. At the moment, I would not recommend to quit your job.
Thank you.
Yeah? Yeah, okay. But I think there are no further questions. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. All right.